Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. And we spoke about the Samadhi aspect of it, the types of Samadhis that we have, basically covering Savikalpa, Nirvikalpa Samadhi. And in that process, what other Samadhis in other, you know, fields of religions talk about, what Buddhists talk about, Sunya, Parisunya, Mahaparisunya, and how we correlate that back into Vedantic scriptures, and in the yogic state, as what Patanjali talked about, we covered that now. And then we covered briefly about the aspects of the four-folded process as to how you bring yourself together, Kaya Anupasanam, Chitta Anupasanam, and all that. Now we are at a point where we will cover today the Buddha's eightfold path. This is the most important, in the entire Buddhism. The teachings have become practice, right? If Buddha has not given this eightfold path, then his teachings would have been only teachings. There is no practical way of you getting enlightenment. So for liberation, Buddha gave this eightfold process. Now, every religion has their own way of looking at it, even every path for that matter. In the yogic path, Patanjali gave the Ashtanga Marga. In the Buddhic path, you have this eightfold path. In the Vedantic process, you have Sadhana Chatushtayam, which is also equally important, which also talks about Viveka, Vairagya, Shat Sampatti, Mumukshatvam. In the Shat Sampatti, you have Shama, Dhamma, Uparati, Titiksha, Shraddha, Samadhana, and then the final one is Mumukshatva. Right? All these are also very equally important. Each of them will correlate with each other. But the point is, everyone has unfolded their own, in their own practice, they have unfolded these techniques. And there is also this big question that is out there that we start to look at things in a different perspective, right? The first and foremost of the aspects that we start to look at is, okay, if I do meditation, I will get enlightenment. If I do this, would I be able to see all of this, right? And how do you see to make sure that am I getting everything am I looking for, right? See, the answer is just by doing meditation alone, we are not going to get enlightenment. Enlightenment is a path through which you have to go through certain things, whether it is material or spiritual. There has to be an overall growth of the individual for you to get to that state of enlightenment. So just by, if a question is posed that, okay, just I do meditation, I do nothing, I don't do anything else, am I going to get enlightened? The answer is that the short answer is no, you will not get enlightened. Enlightenment requires you to have certain set of things, whether in the Buddhic fold, if you look at the Buddha's view of it, there are three categories. There is a wisdom aspect of it, that you have to have the right wisdom. There are two categories within that. Then there is ethics, how you lead your life, what actions you do, what speech, how is your livelihood, all of that. There are three points in there. And then finally, the mental discipline that you need to bring yourself into, right? Whether it is concentration or mindfulness, or the way you look at, how you kind of take things, all of that. There are three more in that part, right? So if you look at it, it's called Pannan, Sila, and Samadhi, right? All these three are required for us to attain that freedom from suffering and realization of the Nirvana. Buddhists talk about as Nirvana. Buddha talks about Nirvana. There is a saying, right, in Buddhic world, especially if you look at it, under detachment is the only way for you to get there, right? It is the Trishna. Trishna means the desire that is creating the suffering. Buddha talks very profoundly about this Trishna. So he says all desires, all suffering is because of desires. If you are able to get out of that desire mode, then there will be no suffering whatsoever. But for us to get there is what these eightfold principles will help us, right? Let's just talk about the principles, right? The wisdom aspect of it, right view, and right intention. Very important. Then comes the right action, the ethics part of it, right action, right speech, and right livelihood. You have to have the right livelihood to be able to process everything what you are able to do that. It is very, very important. And then finally, the right effort, the right meditation, mindfulness, and the right concentration. These are the 8 quick, discipline details, right, that we have to practice as a sadhaka, as a truth seeker, as a practitioner. We have to bring all of these into our life. Then only we'll be able to successfully reach the liberation, the realization, the nirvana, the whatever, the moksha, whatever we call that. So this is where it all comes down to, and it is very important that we understand this eightfold process and bring them into our lives. Some of them, again, if you are practicing Patanjali's, yoga, this thing, Ashtanga yoga, then you may probably come across some of them in the similar fashion, or sadhana chatushtaya in the other side, most of them kind of replicate, right? It's resemble each other, but comes from different religions, right? Now, if I have to look at it, what is the right thing that I need, right? So right wisdom is the most important one. I have to have the right wisdom, what to do, what not to do. How do I know what I am doing? Understanding the nature of us, you as a reality, right? What are the four noble truths? What are the cycles of suffering, samsara, the trishna, the desires? Why these desires are coming, right? How do I come out of it? What do I need to do to practice to make sure that I am coming out of, I'm actually choosing a right conceptual view, right? So the righteous view is more based about understanding of you as to how you are looking at it. You know, in this samsara, what is the right view? What should have? The nature of reality is the right view, or nature of living, the way I want to live, is the right view, right? How do I get that? A quick example is, realizing it in our lives that happiness doesn't come from material possessions. It's a very important thing, right? If you have a right view, if you have a right understanding of the right view, you are not, you know that lasting happiness will never come from material possession. And hence, no matter how much you're attached to the material possessions, at some point you have to let it go, right? Sariputta is one of the Buddha's chief disciple, right? Uh, he was the one who had that deep wisdom and right view, right? When Buddha kind of taught him about this, right? So he was the one practicing this right view in a very, very profound way. Like that, you have right intention. It's also equally important. And again, if out of these 8 points that we are talking today, the noble paths, don't think that if I am following one path, I don't have to do. These are all, everything is interlinked. It is all about, all of them actually have to come together for us to get enlightened. It's very important, because these are just not just teachings. These make you to practice what the teachings are about. You will become the living embodiment of the teachings of Buddha if you are able to bring these into your life. That's why these are very important to practice, not just listen, right? The next one within the wisdom is right intention, right? Intentions are in the spirit of living, in the spirit of livelihood, in the spirit of hatred, in the spirit of greed, in the spirit of harming others. in the spirit of, on the positive side, goodwill, compassion, love, exchanging energies, being part of some form of seva, satsangs. There are like different ways how you can look at yourself in terms of how you bring the whole thing together, right? Having the right intention is very important for you to walk in the righteous path, especially if you want to get to the highest level. We have to have some kind of practice to make sure that we are compassionate, our intentions, cultivating the thoughts and intentions free from any type of anger, greed, hatred, harm, and it only fills with good love, gratitude, compassion, well-being of society, well-being of the communities, well-being of your greater, worldly affairs, whatever you're doing, right? Ananda is the best example, right? Buddha's attendant, who lived, is basically Buddha's cousin Ananda, right? He lived with boundless compassion and kindness towards everyone. He was at the time the living embodiment, right? Of course, Buddha is always there in all of them. But if you want to put an example, who was there, Ananda, he was very compassionate. He took Buddha's teaching as it is, and he followed this right intention, right? Doing the right things all the time. You can sit here and then your mind can be somewhere thinking about some problem, right? Instead, you have a choice to bring your mind back into the right thing, do the right, right intention. You can say that, okay, world will have a better, future, or we will all live in peace and happiness. All the living beings are going to be happy and peaceful. You can say that, but instead you chose to have some kind of a problem that you happen in your life, and then you keep thinking and repeating yourself on that. So that is the right intention. So you have to cultivate that. It doesn't come. Choosing to respond with a state of kindness rather than state of, anger or guilt or any kind of the lower vibrations, right? Always responding with kindness, always trying to understand other person's perspective or other views of the world and all that. Then the next one is ethics. Ethics are very important. How do you bring together the right conduct? How do you look at it? The right speech. There are three things here: right speech, right actions, and right livelihood, the living standards, right? Right speech is all about being in the truth, no backlashing, no harsh words, no idle chatters, no lying, Instead, you are speaking with truth, kindness, and a meaningful conversation, and you are helping others with compassion to be able to give them through your words of wisdom, right? You are helping the other person. A lot of these things are very important for us to get to the deeper state, right? There was a question some time back saying that, okay, in this eightfold path, if I don't follow a couple of them, right, how is I'm gonna affect, right? The effect is you won't be able to go deep, because until you bring all of your senses together, all of your actions, everything that you are looking, the mind together into one pointedness, you're not going to be able to go to the deeper state. So for that, these practices are very important, right? um, if you ask me an example, she was one of the Kimini, Kema was one of the uh, Bhikshunis of Buddha sect, right? She's a Tan nun, and she was actually following some of these gentle, wise speech teachings that Buddha taught, right? It is very important that we understand how to speak to others, how, even for our family, we take things granted. All of those things are coming back, because whatever you are saying, whatever you are doing, whatever you are thinking, everything is going to come back to you. You are responsible for it. You will have to bear the consequences of it, right? So in the moment of anger, in the moment of an emotion or a burst out feeling, we may say so many things, right? All of that is going to come back to us in our subsequent lives, and we have to go through that. So realizing and being in that state to make sure that your speech is not hurting anybody is a very important aspect of it. Encourage someone to be able to, instead of criticizing someone, encourage someone to do the right thing. Uplift their spirits by talking very good about what they have done, instead of trying to point them that, you cannot do this. You can certainly say that, hey, you have got this. You can, maybe next time let's do this in a much better way, or maybe the milestone can be to the next level in all that, right? So try to be in the righteous speech all the time. Then the righteous action, which is a very, very important one. Refraining from harming others, whether it is killing, stealing, engaging in unethical behaviors in whatsoever, right? There are so many things, that we do, right? Uh, a classic example would be, choosing to be a vegetarian, for the compassionate of the living beings, in compassion to the living beings, I've chosen to be a vegetarian. Right? That's a righteous action. Or you have chosen to be humble and compassionate to every living being out there, right? All living beings have equal right to live. So I will not harm any living beings, whether by action or by speech or by thinking. I just want to give that comfort to them. They have right to live, so I have right to live. So together we have our way of business, right? That kind of thing. If you remember Angulimal, he was one of the he was a murderer. He killed so many, 99, or so, and he was transformed by Buddha, right? And became a monk who lived in a harmless life. He killed so many people, and the way he used to mill, the name he got it is based upon how he used to kill people and then cut their fingers and then put it as a garland, right? That's how he got Angulimal. Very ferocious killer. Uh, and then Buddha transformed him. And he became a right action. Right? And he was ill-treated later. He was very patient. He had gone through a lot of karmic issues, and eventually he became a monk who lived in a harmless way. Someone who has actually been in that extreme left has now become extreme right with the teaching of the Buddha only by right action. Such is the beauty of these eight folds, right? If we truly bring them into our lives, there is a very, jolting transformation that happens in our life, and we see life in a much bigger perspective. It is no longer like, bringing things together. It's more like, I live in this harmonious world where you see everything happening, but nothing is attached for you. So then comes the livelihood. Livelihood is also equally important. How do you live the life? How do you lead the life, right? How do I make sure that you are not hurting others? You are not living in kind of, some kind of uh, not having the empathy, choosing the right lifestyle for ourselves. That work that you chose does not harm others, and it has got some kind of, alignment. Either it is a spiritual alignment or it is some kind of ethical principles that you're following. Choosing that type of right livelihood, it's also very important, right? Like, you can go buy a weapon, right? Anybody can go buy a weapon in this country, right? I mean, you are not buying a weapon. I'm not going and hunting, animals for fun. I'm not gonna go do intoxication, myself. That's not in the righteous livelihood. And then you're not exploiting the nature. You're not exploiting the things that you have. You're not taking extra undue advantage of you being there, right? So all of these are livelihood things, right? It is also very important that we bring that lifestyle together. When you want to be spiritual, you cannot have the extravagant lifestyle, right? You got to know your limits. You got to have your boundaries. You should know when to say no. You should know when to say yes. how to keep that discipline and practice in line, right? uh, and then there is like, who was the example? Visakha was an example of, he was in the poor family. Ethically, he was a wealthy guy, uh, but he was living in this style of how to bring it together. Have a very disciplined wealthy person, right? And but he supported all his wealth to support the society and the poor, right? To make sure that he was uplifting during the time, right? Again, the teachings went from Buddha, and he kind of transformed in the process, and he gave all his wealth. He was a very uh, uh, actually, it's not he, it is a she, right? She was very wealthy person, but she gave all of it to the society and to the poor, to make sure that she sets an example of righteous livelihood. uh, the reason this is important is, when we talk about charity, we don't even want to give $1. I don't know why we don't want to give $1, right? Charity doesn't mean that every time you pick $1,000 or $10,000 from your pocket. It also means a $1, a $5, a $10. Whatever you can give at that very moment, we should give. It doesn't really matter. There is nobody to judge anybody. It is about, because what charity is all about is, Buddha says that you are not giving to anybody, you are giving to yourself. What you are giving is only coming back to you in tenfolds, hundredfolds. So if we understand this basic principle, the giving, the law of giving, right, has to happen all the time, to make sure that you receive in tenfolds, hundredfolds, and all that. The next one is mental discipline. The third category is mental discipline, which is also meditation, right? Having that right effort is very, very important, right? How do you look at things? How do you pursue things? What kind of, what you're cultivating for you as a wholesome state, how do you maintain your vigilance? How do you practice, right? A lot of these things are very, very important. The right effort is mostly important. Effort is also, it's like, I replace my jealousy with a beautiful gratitude, right? Through my practice, I wanted to do certain things in my life to make sure that I'm cultivating that wholesome state, maintaining a good vigilance to make sure that everything is in line. I'm not doing things that are out of boundaries, trying to bring, based upon your practice, the discipline, what is needed to make sure that you are getting, the mental discipline is more important. Previously, we talked about ethical aspect, which are more actionable. Now you're coming into the subtle aspects of it, which is the mental state. Right? Even thinking wise, you should not be able to, uh, affect anyone, right? Or give, or be charitable and give to someone. Have that good thinking all the time going in you, right? Uh, there is one of the Buddha's disciple, right, who has used this right effort to bring the practice of meditation. He has gained a lot of, by spiritual training, right? He was able to bring a lot of these things together, right? I Magdalena, someone, I forgot the name, but there was one of the disciple who is very profound, right? Who's got powers of the meditation, and who was able to do the rightful things and all that. With the right effort, he was able to bring to that state what Buddha was teaching him. Then comes most important one, which is the right mindfulness, righteous mind. Mindfulness is the most important, right? Pay attention to one's thoughts. Pay attention to your own thoughts. Pay attention to what is going on in your feelings, what is going on in your actions. How do you cultivate that awareness and avoid at every cost the harmful habits? What do you need to do? Right? It is very, very important, because this is where we, most of us, will fall, because I am not aware, things happened. Now I look back, it's too late, right? We all are practicing, in the material world, it is a very common thing. So what happens is, if you're not practicing the mindfulness, you will get lost with the society or in the movement, right? Trying to be trying to bring that mindful breathing, a mindful walking, a observing your thoughts without attachments. There are a lot of different ways how you can bring yourself into the state of the moment, into that very moment, here and now, right? This is one of the most important one, and this requires a lot of practice, right? uh, if you really look at it, the who is that? Gautami, right? Buddha's foster mother. She's the one who embodied this concept of mindfulness, right? She actually practiced this mindfulness, and she actually became the first bhikkhuni, right? The nun for Buddha's this thing, right? Where before that it was only men who were actually becoming monks, but then she has practiced it, and then she really brought it together. So Buddha gave her the opportunity to be she's the first one who actually became the bhikshuni, right? So it's such a beauty to hear, right? Women also are able to come and get enlightened, right? Before that, it's not like it's not there, it was there, but then someone who was actually bringing that practice together and living in that rightful mindset, right? And then always present in the moment with here and now, that doesn't come overnight. That requires a lot of practice, a lot of penance, and you have to be aware all the time. So she's the one who actually came forward. I mean, it did a lot of wonders. Then comes the last one, which is the right concentration, which is what we talk about, dharana, or right way of observing. What do you observe? The mental focus, and entering into the meditation, the deeper states of meditation, achieving the state of calmness, and then achieving the state of samadhi, right? Only with concentration, with a one-pointed concentration, you reach the highest state of bliss, which is samadhi, right? Nobody can say that I'm going to just go like this into samadhi. It doesn't happen, right? You have to first bring your concentration onto your breath. Then that concentration becomes one-pointed at some point. Then you get into the state of meditation. And from that meditation, you go into the deeper state of samadhi. That is how it happens, right? Why is this important, right? The meditative stillness is very important because you lose the sense of self. The self dissolves, right? The I who is holding this, the I who is doing it, the I who is thinking, the I who is making, right? That gets dissolved. Right? That is why it is very important that you get to that state. The meditative stillness where the sense of self dissolves is very important state, right? Every one of our goal in the society, right? In the basis of society, every single one of us, our goal is to be in that state, dissolve in that state, right? Have that direct union with, whether you call it God, the higher power, or you know pure consciousness, or you call that whatever you call it, Brahman. You have to have that connection, so that you are not deciding things based upon your body mind. Instead, things are being coming to you, things are receiving, you are receiving things from the higher realm. So again, Bodhi tree, Buddha sat, and then he did this concentration, right? And then he went into an unshakable state, where that eventually led him into meditative state, from there to samadhi, and eventually leading him to the nirvana, the path of nirvana. But if you really look at it, Buddha did not get that light concentration without having the other seven, right? He has the wisdom, he has the ethical practices, then he was able to get into this state, which gave him the opportunity to get into the final state of nirvana. So that's why, if we don't have these teachings, the Buddhism will only be talking or teaching. There is no practice, right? So that's why these eight fold methods, right, or path, it's a very important, in Buddhism, for you to become enlightened, for you to get that nirvana, state of nirvana. And meditation is one of the most important one. Again, mindfulness, and concentration, and also your living standards, the way you are living and all that. Buddhists live in a very it's not like they are outside of the material world. They are in the material world, but they are very, very contented in terms of the living standards, right? They are very close to the nature. They live very, very uplifted, right, for themselves. So it's very, very important that you bring your lifestyle into this practice of spirituality. That way you are able to get to that final state of nirvana. So that's the eightfold process. I think, if you really look at it, there are a lot of things in these that Buddha talks about as to how do you bring it together, why it is not working. Like earlier we talked about Krishna being the real aspect of suffering. Why do I need to come out of suffering, and why do I get suffering? What do I need to do, right? The simple answer for everyone is, if I don't want to have suffering, then don't have any desires. But it is not possible. Living in this life, it is not possible for you to not have any desires, right? We are living in this society. So how do I minimize my desires? How do I shift? How do I cultivate the rightful thinking, to make sure that my desires are always working towards the common goal, rather not looking at my individual personalized, uh, kind of, lot of the low vibration kind of thinkings and all. So the more and more you start to look at it, you start to read through this, you will start to understand that there is so much to life, that what we are living versus where we are to be, right? For us to get enlightened. Even though all of us may say that, okay, I want enlightenment, and that's why I'm here. I wanted someone may some of us may say, I want lack of no suffering whatsoever, right? I want to live uh, a very happy life. Some come and say, I want peace in my life. Then how do you get that? Follow this eightfold path, and you will get it. Everyone who have followed it, all the Buddhist monks actually follow it. So that's why he gave these paths, right? Again, this can be followed. We don't have to become a monk to follow this. We can be living in the family, but yet be following this eightfold path and be able to attain that nirvana. So that's why Buddha gave this as teachings that became practice, that can be practiced. Then there is also this notion out there that, okay, what Buddha's teachings are, what others' teachings are there any difference and all that, right? Ultimate state of reality, what you talk about, whether it is nirvana, whether it is moksha in the Hindu sect of it, whether it is Swargaraja in the Christian sect of it, right? Whatever maybe you call that, the state is the same thing. It just, everybody has got their own name tagged to it, right? And the way you get there, there may be a difference. Here we do anapanasati as an aspect, and then we do the fourth process, right? Where you actually go from kaya anupasana, chitta anupasana, and all that. Uh, and then following this eightfold items, right, will help us to get there. Same goes, like I said earlier, in the other religion, sadhana chatushtayam is very important aspect when you are looking at a Vedantic view of it. How do I get there? That's how the scriptures, Hindu scriptures talk about. That's a very good, Viveka, Vairagya, and Shat Sampatti and Mumukshatvam. Those are the ones that you practice. And again, it will lead you to the same thing what Buddha has taught here. Same thing in the Patanjali on the yogic side, Ashtanga Yoga. If you follow all of them, you are actually coming here, right? So irrespective of which one you look at it, how you follow it, the idea is to get you to that state of unshakable state of nirvana, right? To make sure that you are living in that state and you are enjoying the bliss, and understand that we are not the body, we are not whatever the scriptures are talking about, right? So that's the reason it is very important that we have to spend time in learning some of these things to make sure that. And then, so most of the time what happens is we learn about a particular topic, but then we never try to compare that against our lifestyles, right? If I have learned a topic today, I need to bring it back and then compare that against my standards to see whether I'm doing it or I'm not doing it. If I'm not doing it, then I need to know why I'm not doing it. If I'm doing it, then how well I'm doing it, right? If I'm able to relate myself, because these are more practitioners, right? Practitioner kind of, techniques that are out there, right? These are not meant to be just heard. These are meant to be practiced. So for me to practice it, I need to bring home this knowledge and sit on it to see how I'm able to practice this. And when I'm practicing it, what are the things that are coming out? There is a good side to it, there's a bad side to it. Sometimes you may say that, okay, I cannot do this. And then if you're not able to do it, then you should know exactly why you're not able to do it and where is the gap. So the more and more we start to bring that conversation, bring that discussion together, we will be able to get to the next level. So that's the very, very important point. Even Buddha talks about it, right? It is a step-by-step process. It's not like you sit today and then you get enlightened tomorrow. It is a step-by-step process. It is an effort. It is a conscious effort by individuals. And over a period of time, we will start to figure out what's the best interest, you know, and how do I do it? How do I get out this I factor and then become the greater factor to make sure that you are living for the society, irrespective of the understanding and all that. So that's the eightfold path. Good conversation. I'll open it up for any questions now.
I have a question, sir.
Yes, please.
For all theoretical purpose, what is the difference in terms of awareness, Samadhi and Nirvana, or maybe Moksha, whatever you call it? But between these two stages, in terms of awareness, what is the difference?
So awareness means you are aware. It's called, if you put it in the context, it's called eruka, right? You are aware of your surroundings within you and outside of you, whatever is happening. That is awareness, right? At any given point of time, your mind, your body, your senses, everything is on one point, right? That is called awareness, where you are absolutely sure what is. It is not about I'm able to focus that, hey, while I'm talking to you, my fan is going on there, right? I still be able to hear that. But where mindfulness comes in play, which is exactly the other way around, is you're fully concentrated on one thing and one thing alone, right? And you're developing that awareness, you're expanding your awareness. Right now, I'm aware right here what is happening, right? Expanding that awareness and becoming one with the cosmos is samadhi, that deeper state of samadhi. So when you get that, you will be able to hear things that are in the distance, you will be able to see things that are distant, anything is possible at that. Now, Nirvana, what you talked about, the Moksha Nirvana, is the state who is living in that, who is in that state. Okay. Like, Patriji, like, Ramana Maharshi or Ramakrishna Paramatma, who are living in that state, right? They are, even though they are out of Samadhi, there is no mind for them. They are in that state and they're always receiving things and they are doing things for the greater good. Right? They don't have any personal agenda anymore. The agenda is only God, divine agenda. And living like that, for the eternity, for the life of the time, that is called nirvana. Nirvana or moksha or liberation, or there are like a lot of names, freedom from life, all that is same thing, enlightenment.
So, having been reached the state of nirvana, can one still stay in the human body? I think the Buddha
You-
was already, he attained nirvana. And after that also he lived for several years,
yes, yes,
right? So is that possible? Like, I
it
mean,
is
as it
possible.
looks like or demonstrate.
It is possible. Yes, absolutely, it is possible, right? Even see, the realization is not about that you are leaving the body. Realization is that you are carrying the body. You are a soul entity that is carrying a body. That is the realization, and that
So
realization
that is,
is, yeah.
yeah, that is where I have a conflict here.
Hmm.
According to Hindu philosophy, Hindu spirituality,
Hmm.
Hindutva, they say that this this body lives until all the karma burns out. Even if a person attains nirvana, he continue living in the body, though he does not experience any pain or pleasure or anything by maintaining equanimity. He continue living the body until all the karma is burned out and he exit from the body.
Correct. Lot of them.
So would that be considered, if we draw a parallel between that concept with Buddhism, with Buddha, does it mean that Buddha, though he attained the nirvana at the age of 39, I'm not sure exactly, but he lived until I think age of 82.
Right.
So those years he lived because he had some left out karma that need to be burned out.
Yes. See, it's not about left of karma. They have transcended beyond the
Right.
state of karma. It is like, every one of us is living in the first, in the ground floor, let's suppose, right? Those who get enlightened go to the third floor, as an example, right? Like Patriji or Buddha or, the Hindu scriptures, right? What we talk about, Moksha. They are in the third floor. They are now no longer bound by these karmic cycles. But why they do live is to teach, because it's a divine plan now. It's no longer the individual plan. When you get
Okay.
enlightened, you are no longer attached to the individual design. You have become the divine plane, right? So you are in the divine entity. Divine is leveraging your body to do the work what is needed before you depart.
Okay.
That is how it is. That's why they are in the state of akarma. It's called akarma. Even though they do karma, that karma does not affect them because they are in the state of akarma. Akarma means they do the karma, but the karma will not affect them because there is no I who is doing that. That I is gone within.
Okay. Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah. All
So
right.
that's how it is. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions, masters? Great. Awesome then. Then we'll call it a night on this one, and then we'll see you all next coming Friday. All right. And then tomorrow we are having satsang here in the Virginia. So those who are available and close by, please do join us. We're going to have a great time. Right. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful evening. Take care. Bye bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.